Hey guys, Kerr right here today with a top 20 list, and today we are going to be counting down my top 20 favorite Yu-Gi-Oh cards that were censored. Now, the qualifications for this list are cards I personally like that have been censored in some kind of way, whether it was for sexual, gore, or just dumb reasons in general. But anyways, let's get into the list with number 20. So coming in at number 20 spot, we have number 21, Frozen Lady of Justice. Now, her edit, or censorship, it comes in the form of her skirt, whereas in the Japanese version, it shows her thighs and not much of anything else. And but her edited one has a full skirt that covers everything, even down to a little bit by her stockings. And I just don't understand this edit. I mean, the one from Japan is not like sexual whatsoever, and that's the main reason they censored it the way they did in the English version. It just seems very stupid and kind of dumb. Like, unlike some of the other things on this list, this is one I really can't understand. But it's on here because it was censored, and it's one of my favorite cards, and that is number 20. Coming in at the number 19 spot, we have Injection Fairy Lily, who was censored because, in all versions, because of her outfit in her original artwork, which includes a red plus on her hat and background. And this, I think, if I remember correctly, is because it was the logo for the Red Cross. So Japan and the U.S. had to change it to keep from being in, like, copyright or being sued for that. But the new artwork is good. It's nothing that anybody could get really upset about. They didn't really change anything else because she's not anywhere sexual in either version, in the original and her redone artwork. And I'm kind of happy for that. And that's why she's number 19 on this list. Coming in at number 18 on this list is Spy C Spy. And in the original artwork, as you can see on the screen in front of you, was changed a pretty good bit from the implications of alcoholism to smoking to even the sexual things with the lady in the red dress. And if you can see in the background of the one on the left, you will see that they actually changed the eyes and discolorate in the rosy cheeks on the gentleman in the background because they're fawning over the lady. Which that's one thing about this that doesn't make sense. Everything else kind of makes sense, except for the implications of like being in love or being like attracted to someone. It really doesn't make sense to me whatsoever. And the leg thing is it can be argued all day about it being sexual, but I just don't see how it's sexual enough to censor it. But anyways, that's why it's number 18 on my list. So let's go on with number 17. And at number 17 on this list is Frightfur Bedr, or really the whole Frightfur art type in general, because they all get the same kind of treatment. As you can see, they in the censored version, they literally turn the scissors and stuff and blades into lightsabers. I mean, it doesn't really make much sense. It's like, kids can't see scissors. Is it really that bad that you have to censor it to the point where it looks like play scissors? I mean, I know kids should be playing with scissors in general, but I mean, it doesn't mean you can't animate it or like show it on a piece of paper. I mean, jeez. But either way, it's not that bad of an edit, and I really, really like the art type. It's just another one of those things that irks me about this edit. But another thing too is that they did it to the like the handles of the scissors. So it's really, that's the weirdest part about that. But anyways, that's why it's number 17 on this list. Let's go on to number 16. Coming in at number 16 on this list is G.B Hunter, and she was censored for sexual reasons for some reason. And if you can see, it doesn't make sense because there's no sexual implications whatsoever with her, from her Japanese to her English. She's sexy in either one of them, to be honest. They just made her camo legs, just part of her legs, like shackles and stuff. I'm surprised they didn't just make her flat chested completely and call her a dude. So, but it doesn't make sense. She's sexy in either one of them, to be honest. It's like she's one of my favorite cards and stuff. I'm surprised they didn't just censor the sword either and make it a lightsaber like the last entry. But anyways, that's why it's number 16 on this list. Let's move on to number 15. Coming in number 15 on this list is Baby Tiragon, and it's another one of those edits that just doesn't make sense to me, is because this is a dragon, if I remember correctly, and in its original Japanese artwork it has horns, but in English it doesn't. It just looks like a weird chihuahua, and no wonder it looks sad. It's lost its horns. It's like, this is a before and after picture of it before they take the horns off in the translation. It's just so sad. It doesn't make sense. I couldn't really find a reason why, but if I had to guess, it's probably because the implication that horns mean the devil. But it's a dragon. It's supposed to have horns, and now it just looks like a chihuahua with wings. But anyways, that's number 15 on this list. Let's move on to number 14. And number 14 on this list is Archfiend Heiress, not Empress, Heiress. But she was censored for two reasons. One is her skirt, if you can call that a skirt, was lengthened. It still shows the booty, but it was lengthened. And another thing that she was edited with was with a censoring her orb. But it doesn't make. It's not the orb that's needed to be censored. It's the fact that the orb, in the way it looks on her hand, makes it look like she's flipping you off while she's about to fire it off at you. And I mean, I can't really see it. If you really look at the Japanese artwork, it doesn't look like that. It looks like she's like she's about to do like the Frieza finger pistol. And it just, in the whole booty thing and stuff like that, it really didn't show much in the original Japanese and stuff like that. And it just doesn't make sense again. But it's still a pretty good edit, and I have no problem with it past just the whole finger thing. But anyways, that's number 14. Let's move on to number 13. Coming to number 13 on this list is a card from one of my favorite decks of all time, and that is Gimmick Puppet Drury Doll. And the original edit, it makes sense and stuff. I mean, it's a little dark, and I kind of like the new artwork for it. And they censored it because she has blood, what looks like blood, I'm assuming, and had like a blood tear going down her cheek and stuff, and she's also sleeping in a coffin in the original, and they edited this to a box, and it's just a broken doll, which it's a really good edit and stuff like that. It still makes sense. It's not stupid whatsoever. And yeah, I mean, this is one of my favorite decks of all time. Drury Doll is like one of my favorite cards from the deck because of its playability. But anyways, that was number 13. Let's move on to number 12. Coming number 12 on this list is Ghost Trick Succubus, or in English, So Cute Boss. And that's one of the things that really irks me about her censorship in general, is that they couldn't just say Succubus. There's plenty of cards in the TCG that have Succubus in the name, and they just called it the So Cute Boss. I will give them credit for being creative, but it's just stupid in my opinion. It's like a dad joke. And another thing they edited was, for the English version, is that she's wearing like lingerie, so they censor it by turn her skin purple in the midsection and make it look like she's wearing like a one-piece swimsuit. And I think it's pretty weird and stuff like that, because you can still see what, like, her tattoo from the original in the edited version. But yeah, that's why it's number 12 on this list. Let's move on to number 11. Coming in at number 11 on this list is Soul the Pure, which was censored because of graphic imagery with the artwork. As you can see, the original artwork has a pink-haired angel cutting her fingers to give life, and it doesn't really make sense. And the reskinned, or the censored version, is a lot better, where it's a blonde-haired angel with light praying, I guess. I mean, it's a better edit. I mean, it's not even an edit, it's a complete artwork rechange. And it makes a little bit more sense now. And it's probably one of the best, like, edits or censors on this list. And that's why it's number 11. Now let's go on to number 10. Coming in number 10 on this list is High Priestess of Prophecy, who in her original artwork has a moderately sized bust and shows a little bit of leg at the bottom. But no, they couldn't keep that in the English release of her, so they covered up her butt, her leg or thigh, whatever that is, and they also reduced her bust size. And I feel like that's just stupid because, I mean, they look almost the same except for the lines that make it emphasize that she has a heavy bust in the Japanese version. And it's really a good looking card and stuff like that. It just doesn't make sense. Why would they reduce bust size? It's not like she has a nip slip coming out or anything like that. And the thigh thing doesn't make sense either. Like, I know there's some like crazy parents out there, but that's something that you cannot like argue over and stuff because almost all of her is covered. I'm surprised they didn't go ahead and cover the midsection like they do with most of the cards on this list. But anyways, that's why it's number 10 on this list. Let's move on to number 9. Coming in at number 9 on this list is Don Zaloog, who in his original artwork had 2 pistols, which looks badass. But in his censored version, he's holding 2 katanas or 2 blades. And it doesn't make sense because of his fingers. They could have redrawn his fingers with the swords, because it just looks like in his censored version that he's like it just looks so weird with his finger in that pistol holding position. At least at the bottom they fixed his finger, but they didn't do it for the top. It's so funny to me. And I get it, you know, guns and anything like that. That's going to be something a little bit more prevalent later on in this list. But I think it's funny that they didn't like. I think they even censored, like, they recolored his tattoo, like, on one of his arms. It's just really funny with the finger thing, and that's why it's number 9 on this list. Let's move on to number 8. Coming in at number 8 on this list is White Cancel, which in its original artwork has a Ojama Yellow being shot the crap out of himself, and it was censored with an X with a lightning bolt in it. Which, I mean, it doesn't, I really don't, like I've said multiple times on this list, it doesn't make sense why they censored it the way they did. This is a comedic way. It's not like it's really gruesome or anything like that. Maybe the spit was a little too much for most people, but overall, it's a cartoony character. Like, Ojama Yellow is something, you know, is a monster that is revolving around comedy, and it just makes sense that he's the one getting shocked in a kind of cartoony fashion. But anyways, that's why it's number 8 on this list. Let's move on to number 7. Coming at number 7 on this list is Barrel Dragon, which in his original artwork is just a dragon with heavy artillery, and it's just 3 barrels and stuff like that. But in the censored artwork, they gave him a complete makeover, making him even shinier and giving him plasma guns, which I think is a really cool edit and stuff like that. This is probably one of the most badass edits on this list for censorship, because, I mean, the US has a thing about guns, as you've seen with Don Zaloog earlier, but this is even cooler because it makes the card, it's like an upgrade, and I just love that. I wish they would make the edits a little bit more like upgrades instead of downgrades from the original. Or not edit them in general. But that's why it's number 7 on this list. Let's move on to number 6. Coming in at number 6 on this list is Miss Valley Shaman, who was censored because an original artwork on the left shows that her complete face is covered and her mouth is open, and it's for religious context is the reason she was censored, also because of her bust, and that's another for sexual reference. But one thing I've heard some ignorant people say is that she looks like she has an orgasm face. That is completely unjust and stuff like that. She's actually being possessed, and I think that's the connotation that gave Konami the thought to actually censor her. And in her original version, in her censored version, she has been covered all the way. You can see her face, and it looks like she released a fart. But this one makes a little bit more sense. I mean, this one has a little bit more sexual connotation than any of the other edits on this list, and that's why it's number 6. Let's move on to number 5. Coming in at number 5 on this list is not just one monster, but a whole archetype of monsters, the Harpy archetype. And as you can see by the pictures in the video, you can see that they've been censored throughout their history of being an archetype. From Harpy Girl, who actually she was misprinted and stuff, where they didn't censor her didn't censor, so we actually got to see the uncensored version, which I think I have a couple of those copies, and it was so weird and stuff. And I'm a completely fine human being now, but they fixed it later on, which is a shame. But I mean, it didn't affect me as a child, and I don't see why they keep censoring them, because it's, I mean, of course they're sexy, but it's not like they're going to corrupt the youth of today. It's considering the fact that most Yu-Gi-Oh players are in the 20 and 30 range from what I've seen. I've actually seen like an 80-year-old play. But anyways, that's why it's number 5 on this list. And let's move on to number 4. Coming in number 4 on this list is my waifu of cards. One of my favorite cards of all time, just based on artwork and lore altogether, is Downer Magician. And her artwork originally, it's just a recover, it's just a cover and midsection. And and like I said throughout this list, is I don't understand recovers and stuff like that. There's no sexual implication for the TCG. Unless it's like a religious thing, which it's not. I mean, it's not like we're living in the 1920s and stuff like that. It just doesn't make sense to me whatsoever. And from what else I can see, they didn't censor anything else in her artwork except for the midsection, and it just doesn't make sense to me and stuff. Like, she's supposed to be like, I mean, maybe it's because she looks underage, but I don't think she is underage. I think she's like older and stuff like that, like at least like college level, because of her title as a NEET and stuff like that. But other than that, I don't see any other reason for them to cover the midsection. It's completely acceptable in society in the United States to have your midsection showing. But anyways, that's why it's number 4 on this list. Let's move on to number 3. Coming in at number 3 on this list is Elemental Hero Poison Rose, which in her original artwork just has her showing her bust, and they censor it by covering it up completely. And it's just another thing of where it doesn't make sense to me why a bust is such a bad thing, because I mean, in all kinds of children's cartoons, there's women with big busts that look just like Poison Rose's original artwork. So it just doesn't make sense to me. I mean, of course she looks a little bit more sexier, I guess you could say. But other than that, there's not much other reason to censor it, in my opinion. But anyways, that's why it's number 3 on this list. Let's move on to number 2. Coming in number 2 on this list is Dark Witch, which was censored with her dress. And it just doesn't make sense if you look at the rest of her picture, especially the face, because if some people thought Miss Felishama had an orgasm face, then they just need to look at Dark Witch, because that face is just, it has like shock to it, or like orgasmic kind of face. And like, they should have just kept it if they kept the face. It's just so funny how they, changed, this other stuff and didn't change that. And that's why it's number 2 on this list. Let's move on to the big number 1. And coming in at the number 1 spot is Dark Magician Girl. Most of you should have seen this coming with a thumbnail, of course. But she has been changed in so many artworks. All of her different forms have been changed, whether it because of her bust size or the pentagram on her chest, or even just their outfit in general. They have been censored, and that's why she's number 1 on this list. And she's also my first card love. Is if any of you know, I'm pretty sure all of you have that one card, a girl card that you just love and stuff. And this one was my first one, and I just love this card so much. And it's a shame that it gets censored the way it does and stuff like that, because it doesn't have much sexual implications with any of the censorship from Japanese to English. And it's a real shame that, that it has to be censored. And it's even the reason why its Xyz form, Magi Girl, hasn't come over to the US at all, is because the creator Takahashi doesn't want it to be censored. It wants to be kept the original way. And you see, that's just the downside to all of the censorship, is that it prevents us from getting good things like the art book. I think the art book has been released. But it's just a shame that things like Magi Girl, which is a cool Xyz monster, everybody wants to play in certain decks, and it won't be coming over because of censorship. And that's why I think that we need to fight against censorship because it kind of takes away a lot of good things of things that we love. And anyways, I thank you guys so much for watching this list. This has been a big project for me in general, and I can't believe I actually got done with it. And it was so good to count down this. And if you liked it, hit the like button down below. Subscribe for more content from me. And until next time, I've been Kuroda, and this has been the top 20 cards that have been uncensored. And I will see you guys all again next time. Bye.